You know what? Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, so I thank you. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year.
Hello, and welcome to The Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And today we're doing an episode that's been a long time coming because these are two shows that I have seen too many times, some would say.
Two
times.
Exactly two times.
Two times. We're talking about The Office versus Parks and Rec. Or we don't have to say versus, but we're doing it for the fun of it. Versus Parks and Rec, because these are two shows that are similar in so many ways and have same crews and a lot of similarities in the way that they were made and produced and put out. But they're also the two shows that my wife constantly has on rotation. Like, if there's a show she will put on as comfort food to go to bed, it's The Office. Like that. So I've seen The Office an astounding amount of times. Like, the entirety of The Office, I would say I have seen over 20 times. Like, it's getting up there. It is really, like, she just ends it sometimes and then restarts it. Like we'll watch the last episode and then she's like, oh, that's weird. It's over. And then back to the first episode. And you're like, stop.
Yeah, I'm aware. And it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's basically her comfort food show. And then when Parks and Rec was coming out, and then as she, as it's come out, as it's been down the years, that's her other show she'll go to.
So what you're saying is that'll be the thing to rotate just exclusively as soon as The Office is gone from Netflix?
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to be Parks and Rec all the time because it's just going to be like, well, we're not switching over to NBC's service. That's ridiculous.
It's like
one's going to do that. That's so stupid.
It's like a gym or a bar that just has the same thing playing in the background.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
My wife literally keeps this on all the time in the background. I try to get her to watch other shows. She has other ones she works into the rotation. New Girl has worked its way into the new rotation. Of course, Forensic Files, but that's a completely different horse. But like, these are shows that I've seen so many times. It's crazy, and I absolutely. I adore these shows.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no question here. If you came here thinking I was going to trash on one show, no. I love these shows.
I enjoy both for kind of different reasons. They are similar, but they have sort of a different, like, execution. Absolutely. I do want to add this as a caveat because I feel like it wouldn't be brought up otherwise, is the original UK version of The Office.
Yes.
Which only ran for 2 seasons, super short. It's like 8 episodes a pop. And
I don't not like the UK Office. It is what it is.
I watched it first.
Yeah.
So it's much, much drier.
Yes. It's more
very
British.
It's very British.
It's also very, it's down to earth is what I call it. If you thought The Office was very down to earth and real, the original UK Office is just, it doesn't give a fuck about being so normal, you know?
And that's why I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I get why the American version of The Office, although it starts off as for more or less like 1-to-1.
It literally remakes episodes the first season. Like,
I get why the American Office eventually just like pushed itself in its own direction, because I know when the American Office initially premiered, it kind of got a mixed reception because it was just trying to be the British version
doing the
again,
same thing
before they started to find their own identity.
And you can see that in both these shows. I want to point out is that both these shows do not know their identity at the beginning. They really don't. They both. You could say the characters are strong throughout the entire thing. Like, Leslie is Leslie the entirety of the show. There is no wavering at all.
Yeah, they knew what they wanted with that, like, right off the bat,
right
and that
off
carried
the bat.
through.
And same thing with Michael. Michael is the same. There is no Michael. It does not change from like the first episode. He gets character development.
I would say maybe he's a little more restrained when it first starts off, and then he gets more ridiculous as the time goes on. But as far as characterization concerned, it is consistent.
It is consistent, but they don't know what they want to do for the entirety of the show. The first season, like. The first season of The Office, yes, they're just remaking episodes, and it works, but it's rough.
And you really can tell, like, it's trying to also be like grimier than the rest of the show is because
Yeah.
it's trying to replicate that like dryness that the UK show had, and I really do like the UK show. All the like the
if
stars
you watch
of it
the first season, it's so everyone looks so weird, and they're using actual fluorescent lights, and like nobody's prettied up at all. Which I
No.
know, like it kind of by the end of it, people are sort of prettied up, like
because that's the American way.
that's the American way. I love seeing shots of they do first and last episode shots of everybody, and it's crazy different. It's funny. I mean, they literally grow up on the show, so that's like kind of the thing there. But it's interesting because this goes on to any of the other shows that who's the Michael Schur?
Michael Schur was one of like the big guiding hands for the show. He wasn't the initial creator. Greg Daniels was. He had like worked on a bunch of other shows like King of the Hill and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Michael Schur sort of like carried it as like his baby. He was like sort of like the father of the show.
Yeah.
Or at least like the vice president. And then once they went on to Parks and Rec, he became like the co-creator of that, and that was more his baby.
Yeah, okay. And it goes on to his other works, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place.
Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he's also a co-creator for. The Good Place is like his sole creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's but all of these shows do not have strong first seasons. They do, like they have the characters down right away.
Yeah.
But they all don't really know what they want to do.
Yeah, they're
yet.
still cooking. I can still watch the first season of both The Office and Parks and Rec.
I
still
like watching the first season of Park and Rec. It is fine. It has good episodes, but the majority of it is kind of like,
I don't mind it.
Okay, so I think you have to go right into it. The first season of Parks and Rec is they're trying to be The Office.
Yeah.
Like they're like, well, what if we do it in a government job instead, And they even include their gym character. Mark. Fucking hate Mark. If there's any character that literally takes the fun out of any scene and literally has no charisma, it's fucking Mark. Like they try to do. So the thing is, they try to be like Jim's, sarcastic, and it comes across as funny.
It's sort of like that, but it's also just like the idea of because the Parks and Rec cast is a little more silly than the general Office cast. They also try to play him as like the one straight man
guy,
and it just doesn't really gel.
No,
I don't
at all. Like,
I haven't
and once
watched.
they get rid of the straight man, the rest of the show takes off. Basically.
Yeah, because they replace him with Ben and Chris. And here's the thing, like I can still watch the first season of Parks and Rec, but this is also coming from someone who hasn't watched the show a million times.
I get it.
And still find it enjoyable, but I also haven't like exhausted Parks and Rec.
Yes.
I'm not the one who's ran it bone dry. But so I can still watch it, enjoy it for what I do like about it. As far as Mark is concerned, I'm mostly just indifferent to him. He doesn't annoy me. He's just kind of there.
It's they're going for Jim, and they did it completely wrong because they make him kind of mean, and that's the difference. Is Jim is not mean. He pranks, but it's all, as Dwight says, Jim fun. Like, like it's, or I think Pam says that, Jim fun. And but it is. And that's what they don't stick with Mark is that they're like, oh, he's sarcastic and he's the only guy like paying attention to what's really going on. In reality, it just comes across as he's an asshole that whenever he shows up on screen, you're kind of like, well, and the thing is when Jim is mean to Pam, it's never actually mean. He doesn't mean to do it, but Mark is literally mean to Leslie. Like, literally not a good person to her.
Nope.
And, that's my problem with the character is that they, I get it. It's very realistic and it makes sense with Leslie's character also that she would be obsessing over a guy.
And I get the idea of, trying to put a character like that for that function to be the one straight man.
Yeah.
But then we get that in the form of Ben later, and it's just executed much better.
Yeah, because Ben's silly also, you know, and that's what plays.
But he also still plays that. He also still serves that same function. He's the one guy who's just like, what the hell is happening
What
here?
the hell is going on here? Yeah, with little Sebastian and everything. What? It's just a
exactly.
But in both of these shows, once they step into their silliness, it really does take off. I feel like once It's funny. The Office slowly gets silly, you know, like it's slow. It's like, oh, yep, hold on, we're silly now, you know, like, and it's like it's getting sillier, and like.
But it makes sense that Parks and Rec already kind of started sillier off the bat, because by the time it was made, like, The Office had already gone there.
Yeah.
So it didn't take as long to get there, even if it was trying to be The Office again. Fun fact about Parks and Rec is that it was originally envisioned as like a straight spin-off of The Office.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah, there was going to be a link. You know that bad copy machine that they have in The Office? They were going to ship that out, and it was going to get lost in shipping, and it was going to end up in Pawnee. So the Pawnee office would be stuck with it, and that was going to be the link between the two shows.
That's
like
ridiculous.
It was going to be like a literal spin-off.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
If they just connected it that way. I mean, they do that with Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl, where they slightly connect them somehow, and you're like, what? Huh? Like, you know, you're like, these are in the same universe? Okay. Like, you're like, I didn't need these to be connected, but cool. I'm with it.
But I guess, I don't know how the crossover works for Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl, but with The Office and Parks and Rec, there is that direct correlation. So
the
honestly,
crossover is literally Andy Samberg's character shows up in an episode of New Girl, like trying to do cop things at Zooey Deschanel.
Were they on the same network?
Yeah, they were both on Fox.
Yeah, that
they're
makes
both
sense.
on Fox,
Yeah.
so they're like a crossover episode. This is crazy, like, and they kind of waste it, but it is fun to see Zooey Deschanel kind of fucking up his day. You know, like that's kind of the fun
There is
part
a bit of
about that one.
crossover with the British Office and the UK Office
Yes.
as well, because
Yeah,
Ricky
they
Gervais's
acknowledge
character from the original Office does make like 2 appearances.
It's something that
And
I would have enjoyed
yeah.
for, you know, we talked about and this is a weird connection, but the Death Note movie on Netflix, we talked about that. If it had just treated the original Death Note series like The Office treats the original Office series as like it happened, but this is different.
Yeah.
Like that's the way to handle those type of things, you know? Like I just think that's handling it so well instead of just being like, what? Like,
and I think it's appropriate for that to be the only amount of sort of like cross-pollination with the original Office, because a straight-up crossover one wouldn't really fit, because it's sort of like one-to-one at the beginning.
That it's just Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need the...
That should be like the only
Of course, Martin
carryover.
Sheen would have been fucking hard to get back to do this type of thing, but I'm sure he would have...
Martin Freeman.
Damn it. Wrong Martin. Like,
Both great Martins. Both very different Martins.
Very good Martins. Very different.
Next episode, ranking the Martins.
Right? We're on it. That's a great idea. Write that down.
Martin Sheen, Martin Freeman, Martin Lawrence, all the
my God,
Martins.
this is a good idea. That's a great idea.
Ranking the Martins.
So, but once we get into it, these are great shows, but they are handled differently. If we're going to talk big picture wise, The Office does go off the rails a little bit once we lose Michael. Yeah. Like, the show hits its stride second season, really sails all the way until a little bit past Michael. I feel like even Michael leaving is not the biggest blow to the show, because you get Will Ferrell, that's fun. You get...
Briefly.
You get... You build up to you get what's his name? Kevin. What's his name? What's Spade?
James Spader for Robert California.
Oh my God, I love Robert California. I fucking like. That's the thing is Robert California. I don't mind it. Robert California coming in because he's so great. It's some of the best parts of the show. And even though Michael's gone, that is unquestionably for me some of the best parts of the show. Yeah. Like it's really goes off the rails, I think, in the last season. I think it really does. I think they stick the final episode, but everything else in the final season is unnecessary, I feel like.
Yeah.
It just doesn't play right.
That's definitely the argument. I can still enjoy the show beginning to end. And there is a dip. Once Steve Carell left.
There's definitely a dip, but Ed Helms does a good job trying to fill in the shoes, but then they literally just, like, murder his character arc.
Yeah.
Like, just just take it and they just murder it.
He just disappears for a while, and that's like another further
Which
dip.
is sort of funny, but it's not worth the joke for it to ruin his character arc.
Because I know he disappears for a while. Was that around the time he was starting to do more movies?
He did Hangover during that time.
Yeah, I think that was like why he just like disappeared for a while. And then once he comes back, yeah, the character like dynamic completely changes.
Yeah, and I just don't. They literally just murder a character arc. They just take him out of his own show, which he's basically the head of. They're like, no, Jim and Pam are the head of, and you're like, you have the manager, who's one of the most important parts of this show is the manager, Dwight, Pam, and Jim. You know, like those are the most important parts. That's what makes it The Office. You know, like the UK Office to this is that those characters stayed the same. You know, like,
and it's one of those things where like Jim, Pam, and Dwight serve a function and they're good as part of the ensemble, but when you try to shift the focus entirely to them, the novelty wears off.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't. I like the last episode. I really do. I think it's a great last episode. It's really cool that you get their reactions to the entirety of the show coming out, you know, like that's really cool.
It pays off it being a documentary.
Yeah, exactly. Which you don't get often in these type of shows that like,
it's generally not acknowledged aside from like the constant like looking into camera and stuff like that. It's good that it actually served like a function. Yeah. It was finished and they actually all got to view it. Aside from that, the most you got in The Office was like the weird stupid subplot with the sound guy. Yes. That goes absolutely nowhere.
I want to talk about a campaign I've started that everyone should be involved in. That final season Pam is actually a villain. and she like that's my problem with the final season is they literally turn Pam into a villain. Like it's one of my main problems with the show after watching it over and over and over and over again. Is that I love this show. I love it. But my main problem is that Jim goes, you got dreams? Here's all your dreams. Go to art school. Yeah, sure, let's do that. Go do this. Go do this. Everything Pam wants in her entire life, Jim bends over backwards to hand to her. But the second he goes for actual career goals, like actual things he wanted in his life, she freaks out and thinks that she's going to lose him or something, you know, like because he's not working at The Office. And you're like, like it's kind of a shitty response. Like in reality, it's like, it's really kind of disheartening because you're rooting for Pam literally the entire show.
And it feels like,
and then this comes up and you're kind of like.
And it almost feels like they were trying to aim to make it even trashier. Yeah. When you have like the sound guy who like breaks the fourth wall and then gets fired, and you feel like and he like comforts her. I'm just like, The Office, are you about to do some like love triangle bullshit? Because I'm about to jump the fuck off. Yeah,
right, exactly.
And then they drop it.
Yeah, I think they realized that was not a good idea. I mean, they were using it to strain Jim and Pam's relationship right at the end of this, you know, but at the same time, I just don't know, you know, like you're just like. My thing is that Pam is literally like she just acts irrational here, and basically
for the sake of contrived drama.
Yeah, and it basically crushes his dreams because he supports her in everything she does, and the minute she's inconvenienced by his dream, she just is like, nope, you can't have that.
Yeah, because before you get to that point, like more or less, the Jim and Pam stuff is pretty much done and over with. The rest of the series could just be them more or less happy with where they are. But they still got a season to go, and we got to dredge up some conflict somehow.
Exactly. And I really don't like the sound guy bit. It's a clever bit, but I don't like it. Because
and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes to him making more strain on Jim and Pam. And that's pretty much it. And you know they're going to get over it, sort of, you know, so it's stupid.
They like address it one other time after he like lost the job, and then it's just gone.
It's just gone.
He's just never addressed again.
They don't even have like a moment where like Jim comes home and like he's there or something talking to Pam, you know, like something that would have like actually been drama, you know, like something that would have actually worked. No, nothing, you know, like
nothing at all.
Nothing. And like And I'm not saying that's not a realistic sort of situation that would happen. And that's what The Office is going for, like a realistic thing. But
if you have a direct comparison as far as like a functioning relationship is concerned, you go over to Parks and Rec and you look at Ben and Leslie and you're just like, well, this is better.
I feel like that's why we're doing this episode, because there's so many great comparisons like that. Is that like, if you look at Ben and Leslie, they just supported each other. Even when Ben's like, oh man, I'm going to run for Senate, Leslie doesn't go like, oh man, what am I going to do with the kids? She goes, yup. That's what we're going to do, and that's the entire show, is that they just love and support each other and hold each other up, instead of Jim and Pam, which up until the end is held up as being like, wow, look at this cool, great relationship. It turns into this like, why are we having this spat? It's just like, it's stupid. And I love The Office, but that I feel is one of the biggest flaws in the entire show.
Which is funny because, so in your estimate for Parks and Rec, like its troubles are in the beginning and Offices are at the end.
Yes,
they have like more or less the same problem. They're just coming from opposite ends.
Because we haven't talked about the Parks and Rec ending yet. The Parks and Rec ending is handled extremely well. Many shows do not get this much of an opportunity to end their show, and I mean, part of the reason why we're doing this episode also is because the new Parks and Rec special popped out recently, which serves as kind of an epilogue.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
It's been a few years, so it's kind of like, what's
which is weird to call
now?
it that, because like the final season already like pulled the time skip thing.
Yeah, time skip, so we even get like even further time skip. Which I dig. I actually really, real quick aside, I dug the special. I really did. I thought it was really nice.
Yeah.
And as much as
it was a nice novelty, it was just nice to see everyone together again, and the way they made like the framework of it being all through like a video chat thing, they made it work pretty well.
They made it work. I mean, I just love John Ralphio too. I was like, yes, more John Ralphio.
More Ben Schwartz in anything.
In anything. But Parks and Rec, just really, it feels they make the drama at the end, like The Office tries to do, but they do it so well because everything is in character. Sure, it's contrived a little bit, but everything they choose and happens seems in character.
And there's a direct parallel.
Yeah.
You get to the last season of The Office, you get like the unnecessary conflict between Jim and Pam that just kind of dredges us up. You almost feel like Parks and Rec is going to do the same thing, but with Leslie and Ron. But then once you actually get to like the root of why they're feuding, and you're just like, wow, this feels completely in character and completely organic.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is I feel like they just spent the time, and that's really it. I feel like The Office seems like it's a burning like cart as it goes into the finish line, and Parks and Rec just takes victory laps. I feel like that's what the special was. You could another victory lap.
You could argue the entire final season of Parks and Rec is a victory lap.
It is,
because I do hear a lot of people say just like, oh yeah, the final season of Parks and Rec wasn't entirely necessary, but you know what? It was enjoyable from beginning to end. I didn't necessarily need it, but you know what? It was fun.
Yeah, and I also think that Parks and Rec does something that The Office does not do also. The Parks and Rec uses all of its characters to a T. There is no character left behind by the end, no character unused in its role.
Yeah.
The Office just kind of uses bit characters and throws them aside constantly.
Yeah.
They're like, isn't this funny? Well, throw it aside. It's just like, cool, funny. Get that the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
you don't need to know more about Creed or anybody else,
Yeah, everyone more or less gets a payoff by the end of Parks and Rec, like minor stuff.
Yeah.
Even like down to like Craig.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like Don's like hairdresser.
Right. Everybody gets something, and it feels thoughtful.
Yeah.
It feels thought out. And as much as the absolute last episode of The Office is really good, it really is. They do a good job of wrapping it up. They do a good job of making you feel those feels. Like, I really do think almost the last episode of Michael's almost a better last episode of The Office than the actual last episode.
It really is. Like,
Like it's
like
just
it's not
makes
that
more sense.
Like I still like most of the stuff that comes after Michael, even though there is that dip in quality.
Yeah.
But Michael leaving works as just
it works so
as
well.
as soon as he like takes off the lav.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, you should just close it.
Yeah,
That's it.
like that's it. End it with him taking off. Yeah, right. I love that episode. That's one of my favorite episodes. And I just love you can see like the actual love between John Krasinski and Steve Carell in those scenes. You know, like you can't like not see it. You can see it in their eyes. Like they just care about each other.
As far as an
more
emotional
than, like,
high point is concerned, you were never gonna top that.
No,
and to be honest,
especially the song. I feel like the song, them singing all together.
Yeah, the parody of the Rent song. Yeah,
nothing was gonna beat that. Like and that's the problem is that they had this emotional high point and then they just keep trying to go.
Yeah.
And sure that happens because studios want that. They're like, please keep going. And they're like, but we're done.
But we're done. Just like, yeah, but money.
But money.
But money. Don't you want money?
And exactly. And I love Parks and Rec so much. But also I feel like I watch The Office more, and I know that's my wife does it too.
I'm the opposite.
As we watch The Office more often, I think it's the feeling it gives. Like as much as I love Parks and Rec, and I will watch it again and again, like we do, and it does get better. It almost gets better every time. The Office somehow it's the feeling it gives you. It's this like weird comfort feeling, like that, like everything's okay because you already know all the plot, like you already know everything, like it's weird.
That's sort of how I feel about Parks and Rec. I think the characters in The Office are a little more tangible.
Yeah,
but I find the cast of Parks and Rec more charming, and I find it just
so much so.
And I find it more just kind of breezier entertainment, which is why I think it kind of plays into that like replay value.
And I mean, if we have to be realistic, The Office, most people in The Office, other than Steve Carell and John Krasinski, have not really branched out into the stardom that they should have gotten from this big now this big of a show.
Yeah.
I mean, they have gigantic fan bases, and I'm sure they make huge amounts of money, so I'm sure they're fine. But every member of Parks and Rec has gone to giant things, every single person. Like that's why that cast is dynamite.
Yeah,
like,
even the actor who plays Mark went on to like a directing career
right
after that.
And he's doing great.
Yeah,
stuff.
he's doing his other stuff. Like was actually more of a behind the scenes type guy. Like The Office was sort of a happenstance type thing because he didn't really consider himself an actor, which is why he didn't last like long on the show.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I wasn't really into it because I wasn't trying to be an actor to begin with. Like I wanted to be more of a screenwriter or a director type guy, and that's exactly what he transitioned to.
Exactly. Everybody. Tom Haverford. Why am I forgetting? Aziz Ansari has his own Netflix show and several stand-ups. Craig has his own show, Craig on the Street, and like Ron Swanson is
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman has had several specials and is now the host. He's the voice of that new movie on Netflix that's coming out. That psychedelic movie. You seen the trailer for that yet? It looks wild. It's like some guide to taking psychedelics, and he's the host of it. And you're like,
oh, isn't that the one where he has like the longer hair and the beard?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen like stuff around for that.
I was like, ooh, I'm gonna watch that later.
Yeah,
that looks ridiculous.
everyone has sort of moved on.
Yeah, and done well. And of course the star, Chris fucking Pratt, who's now a multi-millionaire leading fucking man.
Yeah.
That you go back to the first season of Parks and Rec and you're like, that's fucking Star-Lord? You're like
he wasn't meant to be
a big character either.
No, he was supposed to be written out. Like he was just supposed to be the boyfriend, and then once they were done with that storyline, like that was it. But they loved Chris Pratt so much that they found a way
good.
Started finding excuses to keep him around, and then eventually he was brought onto the main cast.
It's like you see him the whole time, and he's just a star. Like he's just so good physically. He's so funny in the face. Like he's just like, how could you not have him in everything? You know, like,
And
it's just great.
There's sort of like, once you get past like the first season, because again, I still like the first season of Parks and Rec, but there's like this confidence and knowing exactly what it wants throughout these series that leads me to prefer Parks and Rec. Like, I feel like if The Office tried to do a special like Parks and Rec did, I don't think it would have been very good.
They keep talking about it, and I think it's one of those things that they're trying to get done for the NBC streaming launch, because that will get people. The same thing they're trying to do for HBO Max and the Friends series, that they're trying to do a big Friends special, which sounds fucking expensive for a fucking probably terribly written hour of television.
Exactly.
You know, like, that is going to be... and that's another show my wife watches a lot, and I shut it down.
Well,
if
it's going to be a terrible hour of television, that means it's just authentic to the actual series. So.
See, that's my problem. So there's
Friends
lots
is
of,
bad.
I've talked a lot about characters I hate. If there's a character I fucking hate in any medium, it's Ross fucking Geller. Irredeemable bullshit is what he is. I fucking hate Ross Geller. I know this is going off topic, but god damn do I hate that guy. Like,
I just don't like Friends.
They try to be like, how likable and great is this leading man? And you're like,
thankfully,
nope.
I don't have a wife who will put it on, and I have to like bear with it. So I haven't watched enough, and will not watch enough to form an opinion.
Oh my god,
of Ross. Other than I don't like Friends, so I'm not watching it.
All of Friends now probably 3 times because of my wife, and I fucking hate Ross Geller. Holy shit, is he just one of, like, if we're talking about Pam being a villain at the end of at the end of Office, Ross Geller's a fucking villain the entirety of the show. The entirety of the show, which I know is the funny part, but it's not.
When do you convince her to watch Seinfeld?
I don't know if that'll work. I'll try.
But it's good.
I know, but I don't know if it'll work.
I mean, she seems to just want to watch sitcom after sitcom after sitcom. Convince her to watch.
She does like Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. She does love that show. So maybe, what is it on Netflix?
I don't know.
Where's Seinfeld? Somebody tweet me. I need to know where Seinfeld is.
I only care about Seinfeld within the context of the Seinfeld series. I don't care about Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up. I don't care about his other endeavors. No offense to him. I only care about Seinfeld
Comedians
and
in
nothing
Cars
else.
Getting Coffee is pretty good. It's pretty funny.
That's what I've heard. I just don't
good stuff.
care.
The Mel Brooks episode you would like a lot, because Mel Brooks talking about
Mel
Brooks.
Brooks, so.
Like, you know, like, you're like, all right. And that's kind of it's basically a podcast.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much what I've heard.
Basically what it is.
Maybe I'll give it a shot, but it's not exactly on the list.
Maybe. Maybe. No, I'm... Where did we go? We went to Jerry Seinfeld there. Where the fuck were we?
We're still sort of, we're in the same genre. We're just talking about sitcoms. But just the idea that, like, if The Office tried to do a special like Parks and Rec did, it probably wouldn't be very good.
No, I just don't. And they talk about it constantly. Mm-hmm. And even if you got Michael back, I just don't see it, you know, like leave it.
And even Steve Carell knows better for it, because it's the constant thing they're always asking him about. It's just like, no, it's done, and what's done is done.
I would much rather something like Space Force. I'm super excited for Space Force, because that looks exactly what I want. Another Steve Carell being a boss. Yeah. But with completely different actors in a completely different situation. Like, yes, don't give me more episodes of The Office. Give me something different. Yeah. Like, much as I like that Parks and Rec special, I still feel the same. Give me something else, too. Yeah. You know, like...
Or at least, even if it's from these same creators, but it still has its own sense of flavor or its own sense of identity, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or like The Good Place, but The Good Place is a much different thing.
And what do they got? He's got another show, right? He's got that one on Amazon that just came out where Stephen Amell's brother dies, Robbie Amell.
I think so.
Right?
I know
he dies and he gets downloaded.
Yeah.
I think that's
Upload?
The same people. Yeah, Upload.
It would make sense, because that literally looks like Amazon trying to do The Good Place.
It looks like The Good Place. I was like, look, it's The Good Place.
Guys, I would love to do an episode about The Good Place if Frank would just watch
I'm sorry.
all of it.
That's another show that keeps getting stuck.
It is a show that I've been like singing its praises since it started, and everyone is fucking sleeping on it. Everyone has been sleeping on it. Yeah. It's so fucking good.
I have a hard time with, what's her name? Who's the main actress there? She's Anna.
Yeah, her name's escaping me right now.
Kirsten
Bell.
I have a hard time with her. I like her as Anna in Frozen. I do not care for her. Like, she's good in The Good Place because she's the perfect character for that. She's unlikable, and that's the point of the show. So that's
this
the
has
only
been,
show I like
This
watching
has been
her
a thing
in.
since I've met Frank, that he's had like this real thing with
I just
Kristen
don't
Bell.
like her.
I don't get it.
I just don't like her. I don't know
Maybe
why.
it's because I grew up watching Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't like Veronica Mars either.
do.
Like, I just don't think she's. I don't know. It's like, it's weird. She like knows she's acting. That's what's pissing me off.
Mm.
You know, like, when an actor is hamming it up so much they know they're acting, sometimes it drives me nuts. I
don't know.
I just want the character to be the character sometimes.
I don't know, Frank.
I know. That's weird. I know it's weird. Like,
Shout out to the audience. Frank also hates Buffy, which just means he
I
just...
don't hate Buffy. I just don't want to watch Buffy. I just don't. Okay, long story short, I had a girlfriend, my first ever girlfriend ever in middle school, was a huge Buffy fan, and I couldn't give two shits. She always talked about it, and I was like, I don't care. Stop talking about it. And she just wouldn't. And I just never cared about Buffy ever again. It always felt like melodramatic bullshit
Now
to me,
it's embedded into him. The only fucking Joss Whedon show that never got canceled that actually had a proper conclusion. And he hasn't fucking
And
seen
I'm a
it.
huge Joss Whedon fan. I am. I love everything Joss Whedon does. I just can't do Buffy. It's
Talk about a show that does actually have, like, its first season is rough around the edges.
Yeah.
But I can still watch it and enjoy it.
Okay. That's probably another problem. I've tried to watch that show and started on the first season and been like, all right.
Yeah, because it starts off as like a very like high schooly villain of the week type show. And then it started to become it started to like hit the ground running in season 2, because it's just like, how about instead of like this villain of the week bullshit, like, oh, the football teams got turned into a creature from the Black Lagoons. Wah, wah, wah. It starts to become just like, what if we actually lean into like this lore about like vampire hunting and like monsters and different types of like history and like mythology and stuff like that. It's just like, oh yeah, the thing you should have been done to begin with. But there is a reason for that. It was a mid-season replacement.
Yeah. And this happens to every show. We talked about Star Trek before. Is that first seasons are rough. In any case, it's hard
for me
to find. There's not many. I think one of the only shows that completely nails its first season, and there's not many, is Game of Thrones. If there's any show,
and Dexter.
And Dexter.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that first season. There's many shows that just don't know what they want to do at the beginning, and I can't fault them, because sometimes you're there anyways, like you're like, hey, I'm already here, I love this, I'm sticking around.
I think it definitely helps that both Game of Thrones and Dexter were based off of books.
Yeah, exactly. Of
So
course, they can be
they already have a
extremely
foundation.
planned out. And that feels, that's why I say Game of Thrones first season is so perfect, is that everything in that first season seems so planned out and thought through, and then you get to the final season and you're like, was any of this thought out? Did you guys spend any time on this?
No, we just kind of wanted to move on to other shit.
Yeah, they're like, we thought we had a Star Wars series, and then Disney was like, not anymore, bitch.
But I think it's just a case of enjoyment, because we had talked about this on the last episode. I have a big problem with just like, oh, just skip the first season, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's more of, look, if you can bear with it, then fine. But if you drop off because you don't like the first season, I cannot argue with you. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, you understand, but
that's
you
a caveat
say
with
that,
like Buffy, any Star Trek series, even Doctor Who.
Yeah, even Doctor Who,
because
it's hard to find that footing. The
first season of Doctor Who is like solid, and then you get to the Slovene bullshit, and you get like a two-parter of just like fart jokes.
Yep,
and then you're just like, please stick with it.
Yeah,
like,
even though I love Christopher Eccleston,
yeah.
like I give it to him. Christopher Eccleston does his best with shit.
But it's just one of those things where you're just like, guys, I know this is a two-parter about fart jokes and stupid-looking aliens, but I swear, the Dalek episode is right after.
Yeah, you're like, I swear, it's almost there.
The Dalek episode is right after this. I swear, guys, come on.
And the same thing happens.
And then, like, it's funny because the Dalek episode is like the one episode. Every time I watch the show with someone, they get to the Dalek episode. You're like, okay, now I'm in.
Yeah, exactly.
They just have to like bear with me
you're like,
for
come
like
on,
two
come here,
shit episodes in a row. Just bear with me.
You're like, Jack Harkness is here, though. You're like...
I mean, as far as Matt Smith's first season, it was just a case of, like, me being like, hey, different. It's different. Looking back... And,
it is it has some solid episodes.
Yeah, Season 5 is actually, for me, like, one of the stronger seasons, like, in retrospect, the more I rewatch it, especially the way it starts.
Yeah, Yeah.
But it's just one of those things like, but change.
You read it. Make it step. But bringing it back to Parks and Rec.
No, it all ties together. Yeah,
it does because it is hard. First seasons are hard. You got to find that footing, and I'm sure in a writing room, it's hard to find it. Another first good season. I was just thinking about it. Rick and Morty has a really good first season. Rick and Morty solid throughout. Let's just say that. Let's just end with that. No, I'm just kidding. And talking about Rick and Morty with every bit of that is good. BoJack Horseman's got a good first season too. Like a lot of animated
Talk about
shows.
Another episode I would love to do that I'm waiting for you to finish.
I know. I'll get there.
I have a lot to say about BoJack Horseman.
I'll get there. I swear.
I swears it.
I swears it.
If I call you out on the show, now it'll actually
now
happen.
Now they'll know how behind I am. Because that's literally me and Deshaun every time. We're like, can we do this episode yet? And I'm like, I still haven't finished it. And he's like, then never mind. We're doing another episode. And that's why we haven't done Samurai Jack. That's why we haven't done BoJack Horseman.
But it's coming, I swear. At least that first one, especially.
Yes, it's coming. It's coming. We swear. It'll be very soon. Talk about a good first season. Samurai Jack. That's a good first season.
Talk about just a show.
About a great show.
That's a good show.
That's a damn good show.
But as far as like Parks and Rec and The Office is concerned, I pretty much just like summed it up. Like I would rather jump back into Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I've watched them twice, both times. Gun to my head, like it's like you have to rewatch one again. I'd go to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I don't know why somebody would
I
be
just
holding
find it,
a gun to your head to force you to watch a show, but
isn't that what's happening at your house?
Yes, a little bit. Okay, fair enough. But see, that's the thing is, as much as I love Parks and Rec and almost concede to how much superior it is on a lot of levels. I would almost rather, with the gun to my head, choose. I don't know why. Again, the gun. This is a very aggressive person. I would almost watch The Office, and I don't know.
No, I don't.
It's this weird.
You're definitely
like I said, it's a comfort feeling, and my wife. I know that's what she's honing into. Is like because she'll just we literally watch it every night. Like every fucking night, I watch at least one or two episodes of The Office. Like, it's just her. It's literally what, like, she's getting tired. It's midnight. She's like, here it is.
I would tell the kind man who has a gun to my head to just stick it in my mouth because I have a real thing with repetition. Like,
I know. I try to be like, look, new material all the time.
That's my thing.
I do understand the feeling that The Office gives you is great, and it's also a rewatching. It's great for rewatching because there's always something that you missed or didn't see in the background or something like that, like little notes in little things. The Office is extremely rewatchable. As much as Parks and Rec is rewatchable, I don't know if it has as much like hidden fun as The Office does.
I can see that. You're definitely not in the minority. Like most people prefer The Office.
Yeah, but that's not the quality is there in Parks and Rec, and I will admit that it handles almost everything better than just the first season. Like the first season, a little rough, but after like Rob Lowe and Adam Scott coming in is one of the biggest boosts to a show that's ever happened. I absolutely, no question, believe that was one of the biggest shot in the arms to a TV show that's ever happened, because it went from a show that was like, this is fun, I'm having a good time, to being like, this is laugh out loud fucking funny, and I can't wait to watch more. And it comes down to Rob Lowe is fucking hilarious. Like, he is so damn good. Yeah, he's so... Ann Perkins. Like,
and that's probably another reason, like, I think I just find Parks and Rec funnier.
He's so fucking funny.
Like, I find, like, Parks and Rec makes me laugh in a way that, as much as I like The Office, because I generally like sort of, like, dry cringe humor, Parks and Rec just makes me laugh harder.
It does, and it has almost more quotable lines. You know, like if I'm yes, there's tons and tons and endless amounts of quotable lines in The Office. That's because my wife can literally quote episodes. Like, literally, we'll say them together because we've seen them so many times. I think there's better lines, obviously, like you got jammed, like, you know, like lots of
You just got jammed.
you got jammed. Lots
It's like,
of
why is there glitter in your shampoo? That's my new product, Sparkle Suds.
or DJ Roomba, like there's just so much. Oh, treat yourself, like
She is the worst.
yeah, so much shit about
just like- it's just
Ralphio's
endless.
everything. It's endless. And that's why, I love that show. I love it, love it, love it. But if it comes down to the end of the day, what I put on the most, it's The Office.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. It's just one of those things where, like, maybe it feels like it has more meat on its bones, probably because it's more grounded than Parks and Rec.
Yeah, and
So
maybe
you feel
that's
like,
it.
So you feel like it cuts a little deeper, maybe?
Yeah.
Because believe me, like, I'm probably in the minority in the fact that I prefer Parks and Rec. I know a few friends who also preferred if they've seen both.
I think it's Parks and Rec is very wholesome, and I think that's what it comes down to, is that Parks and Rec is a nice show.
Yeah.
And it does nice things.
And I think that plays into the fact that I could probably rewatch it
Yeah.
more than the former because it feels so light and breezy and wholesome,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't feel as tedious to rewatch.
Yeah. The Office, there's some episodes where they start and I just turn them. I do not, and I will say this, I do not watch Scott's Tots. I'm fucking done with that episode.
Which episode is that?
Are you kidding? That's the most infamous episode where he says he's going to buy college for a bunch of kids and then shows up and gives them just the charger for a computer instead.
I remember it.
My
But
God.
again, you have to remember.
Is that the most cringe fucking moment of any television show ever? It physically pains me. That's why I can't watch it. It like literally hurts my soul to watch that fucking episode. And I'm just like, nope, I'm done with it. Nope.
Here's the thing, Frank. I can't remember episodes like that because I've only seen the show twice with many years
Yes.
in between, and I have not. It hasn't been injected into my veins.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's just
I get to. I can afford to step away. You're in too deep.
I'm in too deep. The Scott's Tots is one of the it's brilliant. I will give them that. It is one of the more brilliant television episodes ever written because I don't get physically upset at any other episodes of television as much as I do that episode. You know, it is just so cringy and upsetting that you're just like, God damn it, Michael.
No one told you to watch it 20 times,
I
Frank.
know. I also, there's several other episodes I hate. I hate the episode where Michael breaks up with Pam's mom. It's funny. The episodes I hate the most are the ones they really try to make Michael an asshole. Which makes sense. He is truly an asshole.
Yeah.
He is deep down, he's an asshole.
It's just one of those things. Well, I mean, there comes that that contrarian thing with The Office of just is Jim actually a good guy? Because he's kind of an asshole when you think about it. It's just when it's all contextual.
Yeah, it's all contextual.
It's all about a matter of tone, like we've run over the episode, a matter of tone and just the way it's presented.
I also think it's interesting because, and I don't think it's explored enough, that the interesting thing about Jim and Pam is they're making fun of their lives and the way they are living and the people around them so much that you wonder if they are accepting of what's happening to their own lives because they are such they kind of just watch the things that happen in front of them and they change certain things, but they joke around so much that you wonder if they're actually processing their own lives. It's an interesting, weird character bit that they have going on, that Jim jokes so much and Pam jokes so much that you kind of go, you're living this, right? Especially the episode where Michael and Jan have them over for dinner. They obviously are there because it's funny that it's going to go so bad, but then you have to be yeah, but you're involved now, right? That's it. And they constantly try to not get involved all the time.
Which is the ironic thing about the way they're characterized in the later seasons.
Yeah.
It's that you became the very thing you swore to destroy.
Exactly. And And that's why I love that fan theory that something's leaking into the office, and that's why they're getting slowly sillier and sillier and crazier and crazier. That's why by the end of the seasons they're just fucking
some
nuts.
Fucking nitrous oxide in there or something.
Something like maybe Van's refrigeration is leaking something into their office, because they all the ramping of silliness just ramps, it just to the point where they kill Ed Helms' character basically by sending him off on a boat trip, which is silly, it's all, and then they have the whole bit of him being stuck on the boat, which is silly, and you're kind of
they had real trouble writing around that one. There are so many ways you could have just written around the fact that Ed Helms needs to go do a movie, so he's going to be off for a while. And how the fuck where did A and B lead? How did you get here? How did you land here as the solution?
Because it completely kills, I'm forgetting I'm saying Kimmy Schmidt. What's her name?
I can't remember.
I forget her name. It completely kills their relationship, and it's wild because that's one of those things that they've been building up, and you don't want to have. They were like, oh well, that's too Jim and Pam, so we got to break that up, and you're kind of like. Yeah, but...
Well, that's the thing. It's not really Jim and Pam.
And then it becomes truly Jim and Pam.
Only in the sense of just we can't have another relationship because it takes away the attention from Jim and Pam. But as far as, their dynamic is concerned, it's not really that similar.
Yeah, but but then they literally do it when she's dating Plop, is that they, remember they sit on the same desk together and they're like, hey, look at us.
Yeah.
They literally address that they're basically doing the same thing with Plop and them. So it makes me angry that they ended the Ed Helms relationship, because first off, Andy doesn't really get a happy ending, sort of. He gets a terrible ending. They're like, okay, Andy, you do you. At the end, you're kind of like,
all right.
I mean, the character kind of deserves it for being such an asshole to everybody, but at the same time, you're like,
yeah, Andy's peaks and valleys is an interesting thing to
I also hate
the
episode where Andy tries to quit to go sing. That's another episode. I don't think it's funny. I just don't think that episode, and I'm not watching it out of pain or anything like the Scott Stotts. I just don't like that episode. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it works.
Man, rule of averages, there's always going to be some stinkers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's going to be some stinkers. Yeah. And I would say that most of the episodes of Parks and Rec are not. I don't really know any stinker episodes past the first season. I really don't think there's many.
I can't really point out one that I'm just I found nothing in this. It's just there could be episodes that are just no, I found this one bit really fucking funny.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's great to rewatch, I would say, Parks and Rec, because usually you remembered those great moments, like her changing all the Boy Scouts to what they call them, something Rangers or something. I
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that moment is so great, and there's so many other little great moments, in that same episode where they're like, oh, we're all fishing for our own food, and then they're like, we just got puppies, and they're like, puppies, and they run over,
well,
so
look,
fucking funny.
It's a puppy.
It's a puppy.
A little puppy. I'm just a little puppy.
I love that. There's so much to love about Parks and Rec, and that's why I would say it is the superior show, but somehow we watch The Office more often.
I don't get it.
and I think it's if I had to sum it for my wife, it's because you were saying it's the more meat on the bones. There's more storylines. There's more everything going on. If you, it's as much as I love Parks and Rec, there is the relationship of Jim and Pam that is so a central part to The Office. That's such a great part of the show. And as much as they do great Ben and Leslie, it is. It's not as much
because the conflict
meat on the bones.
Because the conflict initially with the relationship did actually feel organic.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ben and Leslie is just what if we had a couple and they were just a good functioning couple and they were just good for each other and it just worked out.
And you're like, wow, wouldn't that be crazy? Exactly. But pretty much I love these two shows.
So do I.
I can't recommend them enough. If you haven't seen either of them, I can't recommend them enough. And I know a lot of people will be like, The Office is overrated. The Office is also not a personality. That's something that, like...
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a thing.
That's an important thing to know, is that...
The Office has sort of become, like, the paragon for, like, it's like the basic bitch white girl show. Yeah,
which is
the
upsetting.
The girls who go on Tinder and say they're looking for their gym, and you're like,
but which is upsetting because I know my wife is also a white girl who loves The Office, but like that's not why, you know, like she also watches other things.
It's not her identity.
Yeah, exactly.
Not yet.
Not yet. And I mean, that's what I would say is that like this is not a show shouldn't be your personality, especially something like The Office, you know, like...
Yeah, and it's because of that I feel like most people I know who haven't gotten into The Office haven't gotten to it because of that.
There's also people who, you're going to be hurt by this, but there's people who personality is just Dragon Ball Z, you know, like...
Oh, I'm not going to be mad at it at all. It's fucking true.
It's fucking true. Some people literally, and I feel like it's the boy equivalent, is that they just don't have personalities. They just love Dragon Ball. Which, I love Dragon Ball.
No.
I love The Office.
No,
but you have to like other fucking things.
It's just like, it was really hard to find like friends growing up who liked Dragon Ball who weren't fucking nuts.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, geez, calm down. Like, we can all calm down.
Like, it's just like, there's that old joke. It's just like, don't mess with us DBZ fans. We've only watched one anime.
If they could read, they would be very upset by this.
Yeah, I fucking love that meme that's popped up. If those kids could read, they would be very upset.
That's exactly how I feel about that. Is that like and it is something that me and you prescribe to, is watching new material expands your horizons. Yeah. And guess what? You help everybody who's making it. Yeah. If you support a show while it's coming out instead of 7 years later like the fucking Office like everyone is, the show will continue to come out and you can have a great show as it's happening. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Although with sitcoms, I kind of prefer to wait till it's over so I can just like binge it at my leisure.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Some shows are just like...
I feel like I'm going to do that with Community now it's like completely pretty much wrapped up unless they're going to do that movie. I don't know.
I've been meaning to like jump back into Community. Yeah. I never finished all of it.
And now it's on Netflix, so... It's time,
Plus, there's also the Newsroom because we were bringing that up on the Steve Jobs episode.
We should watch that. Yeah. Newsroom sounds good. But and I really do feel like there's a lot of shows that will try to be The Office now that they see that this is
including the foreign versions of it. The Office has a lot of like foreign versions. Like,
really?
The American version. The American version compared to the UK version was not the only time they did it. I think there was also one that they like made in India. And
I'd love to see that. That'd be hilarious.
Apparently, it was really bad.
And that's not a bad thing, but they might miss what made this work, and that's what's important about Parks and Rec. Is it saw what made Office work and made it work. Yeah. And that was hard, as you can tell by the first season. But once it gets its own shoes, it runs. Yeah. You know, like, and that's pretty much it. Like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I would say, it's got a rough first season, but after that, it knows what it wants to do the same way. It just kind of runs with its own thing.
I've only seen so much Brooklyn Nine-Nine because it started to like become a thing after I had just finished rewatching like The Office and Parks and Rec, and my thing with repetition is just like, it's not to detract from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I took one look at it. I'm just like, this is kind of the same shit, but with cops, and I want to watch something different right now.
I understand that, but it is fucking fun.
And then I had gotten
the Captain is absolute gold and then worth watching.
Michael Schur was just like, yeah, but I also got this other show that's like completely outside of my wheelhouse with like a much higher concept. I'm just like, I'll give that a shot. Now this show's the shit.
Yes, we get it. You love The Good Place. I understand.
I have shit to talk about.
All right. I will jump on that. I really will at some point when I get through the ever-ending list. That's the problem. Is when you watch new media all the time, your list just keeps growing constantly.
Yeah, so like, take that with like a caveat that like watch new stuff, but also like start shit you'll know you'll finish.
Yes.
Frunk.
Yes. It's a flaw in my character. I literally cannot finish shows because I start new shows.
I'm open to watching new stuff, but you can't recommend stuff to me all the time because I'm not about just like any hot button topic that's on.
I mean, did you see Solar Opposites yet? You gotta watch Solar Opposites. Sorry, just wanted
Should I watch-
to throw
should
something
I-
else at you.
Should I watch another?
Did I finish Rick and Morty?
Should I
No.
watch-
Am I caught up on Solar Opposites? Yes, somehow.
Should I watch another show at your recommendation that you'll get me into but never actually finish, but I will?
Wait, which one did I do that with?
You got me into BoJack.
Okay, yes,
You
BoJack.
haven't finished that.
Yeah.
You got me into Doctor Who.
Okay.
You are not caught up.
Okay, yeah, I'm like 2 seasons behind Doctor.
Yeah,
Three seasons.
there are a few of those where I'm just like,
Okay, fair enough.
I'm here.
You got me there.
I'm still here.
still-
Anybody?
Anybody's still here? I'm sorry. I will work on those things. I will. So, guys, thank you. I'm pretty sure we're. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think we summed it up well.
Yeah, I think we summed it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Warp Shelf Podcast. Please listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please follow us on Twitter so you can and talk to us. Sean is Mod Karaika,
Yep.
and I am Yep Frank. And you can just talk our ears off because that's what we love to do. Obviously, we've been talking at you for an hour about Parks and Rec in the office, and we would love to take it online. So please contact us and let us know your opinions. And remember to subscribe and, all those things.
Yeah.
Like the
Subscribe,
Facebook.
whatever the platform does.
Whatever you want to do it. Because we would love to keep bringing this podcast to you. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you have a great week.
See you next time.
Adios.